So let's talk a little bit, Josh, about your first year, right? Because you have, in the last year that you were here, 'cause it's been like 30 episodes or whatever we said, you've been married, right? The
I
last time
did.
you were here.
3 months.
You got married, and you have like a full-time teaching position now.
I do.
So what...
Is that same school that you were talking about before, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and you're still teaching the same grade and everything? What grade are you teaching?
I teach middle school, 7th and 8th.
Cool.
Oh.
And you're doing history, right? Because that's what your degrees are in.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
And what kind of history are you teaching?
So with my 8th graders is U.S. history. That's
Nice.
my baby. I love U.S. history.
I
I'm actually
fucking
going next spring. I'm going to start my master's in American history.
Fuck
So,
yeah.
Love U.S. history.
That's awesome.
And then my 7th graders, we're doing medieval Europe. That's like fall of Rome to 1492-ish. And
Yeah.
then we do Washington State history for the second semester.
Nice.
So I'm getting better. That one's definitely like I'm working on the materials for it because like U.S. history is so easy because like the passion's there. I literally spent like 7 hours working on our presentation on Columbus the last couple days. It's good. It's good. I think it's good. And so yeah, it's been going well. There are things about the world and about education that are problematic.
Yes, you said you had some thoughts.
I did
So,
have
yeah.
yes, I do have a lot of thoughts. COVID did a lot of damage.
Oh yeah.
A
To what?
ton of damage to everything.
Okay.
To grades and to behaviors.
I would bet.
Expand on. Let's start with grades. 'Cause
So-
we've heard a lot about that, and
You've seen or throughout the country, all 50
Yeah.
states. It almost seems even regardless of whether your state locked down for a long time or not, there's been huge dips in reading, math, reading, and then that reading percolates into the social studies. So like
Yeah.
the first time ever, we saw dips in these categories.
Those are not good places
Yeah,
to dip,
especially reading.
Those are proper building blocks
Yes.
for like being intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things is we had online school.
Yes.
And for a lot of kids, they were essentially, the word we like to use is feral. So essentially,
Feral children.
a year and a half
That
where
feels proper.
yeah.
where they weren't getting a ton of education. There was no expectation for them to do the work. Yes, you did grades and stuff and turned it in, but the quality was low. A lot of parents did not have the time to help their kids. So let's say you're a parent working from home from 9 to 5. You can't help your kid with homework. You can't help them get their stuff done. You just hope that they do. And then
Because you're supposed to be working.
yeah, and then if your kid is not doing their work, you can't punish them. You don't have the what are you gonna do? Have to deal with their behaviors while you're working? So what ends up happening is a lot of time they throw a phone at them or throw an iPhone at them. So these kids have been raised by YouTube and Twitch and video games for the last year and a half. They come back to school and they've missed a year and a half of personal interaction with each other. So how to deal with each other in a group has been a skill that we're working on. Last year, physicality was huge. The boys are just touching each other incessantly. Like there's a difference. Like middle school boys, you understand that they're physical,
Yeah.
but there's a different level of physicality, almost a sort of intimate need to touch, just in the middle of class. It was strange.
It does seem
I wonder just for a second because I think that makes a lot of sense when you spend that much time with your family and then you go straight back to spending it with other kids. There's a difference in the way that you can interact physically with your family than you can with other kids.
Oh, yeah.
And when you've been getting that type of physical attention for the last year and a half because you're just with your family, you're with your cousins, you're with your parents, you're with your whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go back, you're in the same mental mindset of learning in a different environment with different people. Your body, your brain is still going to be engaging in those same ways. The neurons are still firing in the same patterns. So you're going to be looking for that same shit, even though it's inappropriate because you're in a different setting, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not inherently inappropriate, but it's distracting. It's not good for being in the classroom trying to learn, you know? So even if it is just trying to talk and just touching and stuff, it's not helpful. It's distracting for the classroom.
Well, yeah, because those type of
Goodness.
interactions have usefulness when you need them to.
Yes.
Like if you want to, tell somebody something that's very, very important, you might do the, and be like,
Yeah.
what's going on there? But that's how you act in a private setting is very different than you act in a public setting.
Yeah.
And if there is one thing, I don't want to give it to the institutionalized learning facilities, but they're institutionalized learning facilities where you go there and you, as a young person, ideally are supposed to be kind of, you're out in public, you're around a bunch of adults and a bunch of other kids, so you need to be on your best behavior. You need to try to put your best foot forward. You need to try to present yourself well enough. You know, you want cool clothes for school. You know what I mean? There's so many levels of that, and that you could build in a homeschool situation, but it would require a lot of, like, you need to have a structured learning environment, not just, okay, here's your work, do the work, we're doing the lesson or whatever.
Right.
And you're just still in your room or you're doing whatever. You never get out of that mode of, like, being at home.
Very few kids that are self-starters like that when they're that young. Like,
Yeah.
There are some kids, I knew kids when we were in school that they did homeschool, they just were better that way. Doing it by themselves, they got all the fucking work done and they got out. And that worked better for them.
Yeah.
The amount of kids that can do that successfully is very low, you know,
Yeah.
without like a very high level of parent or adult involvement to ensure that they're still getting that done. There's not that many kids that are going to do that.
And I mean,
you
you're
know?
a teacher. You know how to build a lesson plan, build an environment that is conducive to learning, whereas parents probably aren't used to that.
That is the that's where it gets difficult, because lesson plans stuff is easy, but building the environment is where these COVID behaviors have changed. Where I have veteran teachers who had it locked down for years, and all of a sudden there are behaviors that these kids are exhibiting that they don't know how to deal with. Because
it's all new,
the touching, the physicality, the yelling, they like, I'm not gonna say ticks per se, but just like they just go Fortnite Battle Pass, and then everyone just giggles. It's
right,
and it's like these are behaviors that, like, that's not like an infraction or something, you know, like that's like it's not like enough to do disciplinary all the time, but that is, it's like we're silent reading. You can't just be blurting out these random words,
right?
And so
It's distracting as fuck.
Yeah, it's distracting,
Yeah.
and like these.
It's like the classic. There was like one in every other class or something like that. You'd have a class clown.
Yeah.
That would occasionally do something like that. But this is much more broad and happens a lot more.
Yeah, those behaviors are seen throughout more kids. And then another thing is that the best way I see it is the economy is extracting too much from parents for parents to parent.
Trent says that's the TikTok effect, and that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that, like the hyperactive shit. Like it immediately made me think of TikTok. I don't like TikTok reels, you know, when just the quick shit, you know, that's just how your brain is working.
I need to be entertained now.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, the hyperactivity.
Yeah.
Trent knows that in middle school we hit the bean dips. Do you know what bean dipping is?
No.
Do you remember what bean
What is
dipping
a bean
is?
Is that where you scoop them?
Yeah, you hit
But-
someone's titty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't do that in the
Scoop
middle
slam.
of class. Like,
Right.
we would have walked
In
up
the
to it and
hallway.
scooped it in the middle of class. We would definitely do it in the hallway
right.
for sure.
You might do it if you were walking past me, like sharpening pencils, and you might hit him on the way by, but you weren't turning around to fucking bean dip somebody while the teacher is presenting a
Bean
lesson.
dip.
And everyone sees you do it.
Right.
Yeah. We had the scoop slam. The same thing. The scoop slam.
The double.
Yeah,
That's
but it
Trent.
would-
What
yeah,
the fuck was that called? Because there was a different name for that.
Oh.
For the up and down. The
The
bean dip
reef-
was just the one.
The refried bean dip.
Because clearly we used the racier boys would hit the females with the bean dip.
Don't
too.
be doing that.
They would do it. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm saying that it happened.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it happened.
Yeah. So I was actually at a training the last Wednesday and Thursday about dealing with these COVID behaviors.
How to
and
deal with the hyperactive type.
And is that like the label that the schools are calling them, COVID behaviors,
It's
essentially?
just kind of colloquial. Like,
Yeah.
it's just things that they picked up. It's
Because
really
it wasn't happening before.
It wasn't happening before,
Yeah.
no. The really bad group right now is kindergarten through first graders. Because think about it. If you're 5 years old, you spent almost 2 years without really interacting with people your age. So they
Yes.
don't know how to interact with peers their age.
Right.
So they're
At
going
the
into
very, very important time in a kid's
Yeah.
life, too, like that.
If
So they're
your
going-
parents, if your parents weren't making an effort to expose you to other kids that whole time, you know, and that's that's something that Jordan and I pat ourselves on the back for that whole time, is that during COVID, when everything is shut down, her and Dax were still coming to my work frequently. We were taking him out. We're like taking him to do things. He's still seeing other kids all the time. 'Cause even though he's not in school, he's 2. It's still in that same realm of developing things to not see any children because you're afraid or because of whatever. You're only doing a detriment to your kids.
Yeah, and
that
then all of a
seems
sudden
evident
you just
by what you're
drop
talking
them
about.
into school once everything starts at kindergarten, first
Right.
grade like that. That's
Figure it out.
But again, a lot of these parents literally don't have the time to parent. They're
Yeah.
working 2 jobs.
Yeah,
that
let's
are
focus
taking-
on that because you brought it up for a minute. Like the economic state
It's-
of parents are making it, made it impossible.
It is because I'm Jordan's stay at home, right?
Yes.
So you have she can take the kid to your job.
Yes.
Imagine she had to work 9 to 5 and you had to drop
Right.
him off
Right.
at a daycare
Yeah.
or something. Like, I think actually it'd be a little bit more ideal, but like during COVID, there really wasn't an option.
Well,
So
and Jordan stays home. She doesn't work because we think that her being home is better than them going to daycare, you know, for different aspects of it. Their social aspects, like you're talking about interacting with kids, but she finds activities for them to do when they're at home, so that they can both still get that type of interaction, you know. Because we would have been in the exact same position that, you know, she would have been working a 9-to-5 job or whatever, and he would have been. It was only Dax at that point, so he would have been in daycare. He would have been in whatever, you know.
Yep.
One of our, I don't know how do I keep this as vague as possible. One of our hardest students has parents with 2 jobs that keep them out of the home at large swaths of time.
Oof, yeah.
Large swaths of time. And so they're getting home. There's no structure when they get home. They're raising themselves essentially with, again, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and, you know, maybe playing with their friends and stuff. So they're essentially like
the modern equivalent of a latchkey kid.
Yeah, but it's different because like there's no community like to support that kind of latchkeyism. We're like, hey, we're gonna go to the park, we're gonna go do this, that
doesn't happen
whatever.
anymore.
But like if you're in a suburban community, what do?
Yeah, odds are you don't even know your neighbors anyways.
You go inside and you consume media.
Yep.
And that's what's just evident of these kids. They're just, you know, like it's so hard because again, if you're a parent, if they have a phone. The phones are. I'm really working in my classroom on locking them down, but you're competing against billion-dollar industries for your kids' attention.
Yep.
Right.
What are you supposed to do?
Oh yeah, man.
You know,
Struggle.
like those things are they're made to be addictive, and like the kids are like, it's just not good for their brains, and you can see it, and you can see the kids. Like kids will complain, it's like my mom doesn't let me have a cell phone, and they're the kids that are on it. They're the kids that usually are a little bit more in tune with things, and it's like. But like they don't see the benefit of this because they're too young to appreciate that. Because
all they see is the negative part. It's like, well,
phone and stuff, and then
how am I supposed to chat with my friends?
The big thing is because of social media, school doesn't end. So you get out of school, like let's say you had
the social aspect of school.
Like you say there's a second period and the kid's a dick to you.
Right.
You don't have to see him again until the second period the next day.
Yep.
But with social media, they're in your TikTok comments, they're in your Instagram comments.
Oh, yeah.
They're messaging your friend or something. So now these beefs are percolating outside of school, and my admin has to spend a ton of time that could be dealt with instruction and other things, having to deal with all this drama that started from some girl calling another girl fat. At like 4 p.m. That has nothing to do with the school, but because we create a mandated environment where they're supposed to be together, we have to deal with it. And it is a huge drain of resources that is just ridiculous.
And when you're a kid, if you block that person, then you're a pussy. They're gonna still make fun of you. Whereas like if you're an adult and you block someone who's on your social media, no one cares. You know, your friends will tell you that's the right thing to do because that is the right thing to do. But when you're fucking 15, you know, and you block someone because they're being a dick,
in a school of 500 kids,
everyone calls you a pussy because now you can't handle this person.
And they just screenshot. Hey, they still wrote this, and they screenshot and sent it to you. So what's really the point of blocking?
It's so gross, man.
So
and the
that shit's poisonous.
The mental health damage that's doing as well, because that didn't, like you said, like if you got a school bully, you show up once a day, 5 days a week, and you're gonna have to deal with it once a day,
right?
And it's done, and then you go home and it's fine, and then you go hang out with your friends, do whatever you're doing. But if you're exposed to it 24/7,
because that was like kind of just starting when we were in school, the like social bullying and like the social media bullying, and even at that time, it was still to the point where people were like, just don't go on the internet. And like it was still that simple. You could just not go on those things, and that like
just close your eyes.
That would deal with it, you know, because it'd be like, well, they said this. We're like, well, I don't have any of those things, so I don't care. You know, what do you fucking talk shit on somebody else's fake Facebook wall about me? I don't fucking care. You know, that was good enough. But it seems like, I don't know, the social need, like they can't remove themselves from it like we could. We weren't as connected when we were in school as they are to
like
now.
They especially because like when we were younger, that kind of interaction was very slow. Like I had to get your cell phone number in order to give you text. Now kids get a Snapchat, add everyone in their class, and now you're literally getting like 40-50 notifications all day every day. And so like
that sounds like marriage.
And so it's like there's this cohort of kids that is going through their schooling, interacting with each other all day every day. And even if you want to get out of it, even if you don't have a cell phone, you're still subject to that environment, you know? Kids taking pictures of kids in the bathroom, sending it to everyone in the school. Boom.
Whoa.
And it's not
that
like you
type-
need their number. Now I can
Right.
just send this to everybody.
Because that type of shit, like some of those things, I remember did happen in school, but it was localized to like groups,
A group of friends or
like
something.
yeah, like I'm gonna take a picture of one of our homeboys and send it to the rest of our homeboys. You know, like we weren't fucking sending it to everybody. We're sending it
Yeah.
to the other 5 dudes that we hang out with because we are all gonna think that it's funny.
Yes.
You know, but we definitely weren't. There was. I don't know. I can't even think of a time in which something like that was shared to everyone. You know, there were a few times we had some shit in school, like the Harry Berry incident and stuff, where like there was some shit that was inappropriate.
Can't
that-
even remember that.
There was there was a gal that I shouldn't have called her that. There was a gal who shared inappropriate media content with some other kids that we were 15. We were in junior high.
No, this was
and
this was 9th grade, I think.
yeah,
Right to
ninth grade. So we were in junior high, and then like as 15-year-old boys are gonna do, they showed it to a couple other people, and then that girl found out about it. We didn't know at the time. I don't think anybody who was that young knew that like that's CP. You know, that's technically child pornography. We had no fucking idea. You know, and so then like the cops are there, kids are getting hemmed up. Like a couple of those boys had to like register.
was on the news.
Yeah, it was on the news. Two of those
Jesus.
boys had to register so they were 21 just because they received them, you know,
Yeah.
and then had like sent it to somebody else, to another 15-year-old kid, you know. So like that, but again, that was a group 10 kids, you know, that were all encompassed in this one event. That wasn't a school-wide thing. We all knew about it, but it wasn't a thing that everybody had seen these pictures, you know.
But now
So
it
much
can be.
faster, so
Right.
much easier.
Right.
And it's not just the school; the world can say
Brian
that.
said I beefed over AIM 100%. Like that's over instant messenger.
Yeah,
That's
AOL Instant Messenger.
yeah, exactly.
For all you young kids out there.
Yeah.